Hey,
Got it.
Chris, can you hear us? Chris Reagan,
I can hear you.
how you doing?
I'm sitting at the airport getting ready to get on a flight, but
You in Miami or you coming back?
I'm coming back from Miami.
Yeah. What was the final score? I didn't see that. They won pretty big.
42-21.
42-21. Huh? Okay, good. You must be a happy camper.
I'm a very happy camper.
Yeah.
I'd be even happier if we beat the Eagles next week.
That'll be a challenge. Where are they playing? In Philadelphia or Miami?
Yeah, they're playing in Philly.
You going?
I'm thinking about it, but I don't know if I want to be attacked.
Yeah, you might take your life in your hands on that one.
Exactly.
I still remember the Santa Claus getting pelted with snowballs at I think it was Veterans Stadium then in Philly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Veterans Stadium, yeah. Greg, how you doing?
Let me try. Doing well if I can unmute myself. Hi guys, how are you doing?
Good. How's things at the zoo?
Great. This Globe program is doing really well.
Attendance
Like-
still pretty good for the fall?
Oh yeah, it's been good. It's been actually better than I thought it was going to be. So it's good, except that it would be very nice if we could get one Saturday without rain. One. Not asking for a lot, just one Saturday.
January.
Maybe. Then they'll start snowing.
Supposed to rain this weekend, Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah. Again, this is the I think 6th or 7th or 8th weekend in a row it's rained. And
Whatever.
we've had last 2 weekends we had weddings too on top of the Globe program. So crazy. The one good thing is that I went to a local restaurant yesterday and I walked in there and they shook my hand. I said, what's going on? They said, our restaurant has been packed with people since you started the Globe program because everybody's coming to eat before they go to the zoo.
That's good.
So I'm like, that's exactly what we want to see, don't we?
That's
Exactly.
Perfect.
Put that down. Anthony, put that down in our economic development portfolio, please.
Which restaurant was it?
This was Vazzy's, but this is Vazzy's down the street, which is a pizza joint, and then across the street from the zoo, it's Vinny's. They had the same. Said the same thing, so it's very good. I'm enjoying that.
All right, Anthony, what's your hat say?
Hindsight barbecue, although it can be misconstrued as make America great again because of the color. That, and I'm wearing camo, so I could easily be MAGA Tony today.
No comment.
Smart man.
Hey, Jason.
Morning, everyone.
Hi, morning, Jason.
Well, it's 11 o'clock, but I think a few other people have said that they were going to join us. So let's just give it a minute.
How are you doing today?
Doing well. How are you?
Good.
Hey, Peter.
Hi there. I'm not my wife. Let me just rename myself.
You don't look like a barber, Peter.
Barbara, yeah.
My computer petulantly refuses to put anybody but my wife's name up in a Zoom meeting. So
Well, now that we got that straightened out, let's go ahead and get started. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Rob Krett. I'm the co-chair of this subcommittee of Connecticut 250, and my day job, I'm the executive director and chief executive officer of the Connecticut Museum of Culture and History, previously known as the Connecticut Historical Society. There are a number of other people that are on the call for the first time today, and I just want to first say a quick thank you. I know that there was some work that was done while I was on vacation, and as I reviewed the information, I kind of joked and said I should go on vacation more often because there was a lot of really good work that was done, and you'll see and hear about that momentarily. Just briefly mention, Frank and I have talked, and he's agreed to be co-chair of this committee. So I think that that's terrific. It'll be very helpful. And I know that we have a number of other people on. So let's just start with introductions. I've introduced myself. Frank, if you wouldn't mind, introduce yourself and then tag somebody else to do the same.
Okay, Frank Burns, I'm the Executive Director for the Connecticut Tourism Coalition, and I look forward to working with Rob as co-chair here on this committee. All right, Cindy?
Hi, I'm Cindy Tolosa. I am at Connecticut Humanities and I'm the project manager for America 250. I'll pass it over to Blair.
Morning, Blair Bendel, Head of Marketing at Foxwoods. And I'll pass it to Ashley.
Thanks, Blair. Hi, I'm Ashley Malcolm. I'm the administrative assistant for the Connecticut Museum of Culture and History and the recording secretary for the Marketing and Tourism Subcommittee. I'm going to pass it on to Felicia.
Hi, I'm Felicia Lindau. I head up the tourism account at Adams and Knight Marketing, supporting Anthony in many projects. So I'll pass it to Anthony.
Hey, everybody, I'm Anthony, Chief Marketing Officer for the state. In my role, I oversee both statewide marketing and tourism. Looking forward to working with you all on this. I'll pass it over to James.
Thanks, Anthony. I'm James Fowler. I'm a senior advisor on outreach and engagement for CT Deep. Pass it over to Jason.
Good morning, everyone. Jason Mancini, Executive Director of Connecticut Humanities. Glad to be with this group. Aaron.
Hi, everybody. Aaron Markovich, Executive Director, Connecticut Landmarks. We own and operate 12 historic properties, including the Nathan Hale Homestead. Let's see, who don't we have yet? Michael.
Hi, everybody. Mike Jaley, Executive Director of Fairfield Museum. Pass it on to Greg.
Hello, good morning, everybody. Greg Dancho, Director of Connecticut Spirsley Zoo, sit on the Governor's Tourism Council and chair of the Western Connecticut Tourism District. And on tourism. Pass it over to Christopher.
I'm Chris Regan, Olmsted Village, Chairman of the Eastern Regional Tourism District, on the Executive Board for CTC and Mystic Chamber. I'm going to pass it on to Kimberly.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kimberly Noto. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for Mohegan Sun. Unfortunately, I'm joined from my phone, so I can't tell who I should pass it off to. So hopefully someone could jump in.
All right, I'll jump in. I'm Peter Roos. I'm the Executive Director of the Mark Twain House and Museum. And I'll pass it over to Alondra.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Hi, I'm actually filling in for Haley Stafford here at the Middlesex County Chamber of Commerce. We both do tourism over here, so I'm not quite sure what's going on yet, but it's nice to see everyone. I think I may be the last person, so I'm not sure who to jump it to.
So we haven't heard from Anthony yet, Anthony Champali-Mode. So if you want to go next.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Anthony Champalimo, a member of the public and general partner of Troutbeck in Amenia, New York, and general partner of Belden House and Muse, which is a soon-to-be 31-room hotel in the center of Litchfield, Connecticut, where I live.
Great. I think that's everybody. Appreciate everyone taking a few minutes. The second thing on the agenda is to have a presentation of goals and strategies and to talk about next steps. And I think Anthony, you were going to lead us through that presentation.
Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
All right, let me go into presentation mode. So before I jump in, I want to just say thank you all for the chance to talk through this. From where I sit in the state, again, overseeing both marketing and branding and tourism, this committee is extremely important. In general, I think the CT 250 effort is extremely important for a few reasons, most of which is it will help us achieve our goals for the state from an economic development perspective as a whole, not just to grow the economy and make people aware of the state, but to also change perceptions about Connecticut. And I think we can use this as a perch to achieve that. So what this short deck does is it walks us through what we should align on, all these things today, but some of the goals that we should all be agreeing upon, as well as the strategies and tactics to achieve them. So I will stop waxing poetic and just start jumping right into it. So from an objective standpoint, there are numerous, but I think these are some of the high level key objectives. So first and foremost, encouraging and inspiring all of Connecticut and the industry to offer two CT 250 experiences. We have a very robust offering, which makes Connecticut a lot more attractive for visitors as well as residents. So if we're able to do that and unify everything, we need to have a brand. And we're looking at this from a high level in the marketing cone to bring people in and make people aware. So we should do that with a singular look, feel, brand, voice, all of the above. And that should be aligned with what the state branding is. So actually tomorrow morning at 11 a.m., we are rolling out the new brand and narrative for the state of Connecticut. So that will come, it's no different than anything anybody has ever would expect from the state. It's not a surprise by any means, but it is the identity of who we are and what we do here with being a state of makers, creators, innovators, and entrepreneurs. So we think we can use that to help us tell our historic story and these ideals of the revolution, influencing who we are today and helping us show the world where we're going moving forward. So we're really creating a robust narrative around why Connecticut. So if we're doing this, we also should be able to promote the collection of 250 experiences, with a singular cohesive website. And we drive people to Connecticut to have awareness of Connecticut and what they can be doing, as opposed to marketing singular one-off big time events. We'll do it as a whole and drive people to a website that lists all these things out. One key note, this note right there at the bottom in orange, we do not see this with this current model as us being the singular driving committee of large events. It should be incumbent upon municipalities to be doing that, and then we can help promote them. But because of a challenge in resources and just straight up efficiencies, we don't want to be in that business. It's just too much. It would require us to hire staffs of 100 or more, and there are organizations out there currently who are better suited to be doing that. So if we're doing all of these things, we are going to be much more competitive with our neighboring states and driving them to Connecticut, as opposed to, let's say, New Hampshire, New York, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, so on and so forth. And that benefits us greatly. It puts more money into our pocket and then helps us in the long term with tourism, arts and culture, and how we market those things as a whole. So one of the other pieces is what we want to be doing with this. Again, not wanting to be the singular place and directing events. We want to be getting money from the state and then dividing that out to different businesses and tourism locations through the state through a matching grants program, which we would like to be administered by our regional chambers of commerce. We divide it up by that. It's a good, let's say, it's a good element of federalism. We get the money from the state, we kick it down to the regional chambers, and then they can administer it from that aspect, and we can work down the line to figure out the lines of what that grant will look like. But we want to make sure that there's equal opportunity across the state. And if we're doing all these things effectively, we are going to do one of the most important pieces, which is driving awareness of who we are and where we're going to be going. So those are the goals. From a strategic and tactical perspective, this looks like a few different things. One, establishing a brand identity, brand guidelines, and best practices as a toolkit, which we can then give out to all of our partners throughout the regions and at the individual level. So that way we're creating a cohesive identity. Two, we'll have an information distribution network, email listservs, social media, and different communications processes that keeps everybody up to date and aware of what's going on from our level, and they can feed information up to us, and then we can feed information down to them. So that way, again, it's a network and we're all aligned and doing things together and marching in the same direction. We'll have a website, which we'd like to integrate into CT Visit. So that way, all of the tourism offerings throughout the state are connected in one robust place. If we're able to get the correct funding, we should have a robust consumer marketing campaign, which drives people to the state and tells, again, a much larger story about Connecticut's importance in the 250th and where we've been and where we're going. And with this partnership and these strategies, we will empower some of our regional chambers to manage the grant and help them execute this. So let's talk Turkey. This is the most important part, and all of it, money. Competitive states across the country are they already have allocated money. You got New Jersey with the most at 25 million. South Carolina's put 9 in, Virginia's at 7, Utah 22 million. What have we put, Rob? 100 grand into this so far?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, 100,000. So if we do this correctly, and we've already had discussions with Jason, we're going to be asking for a significant amount more from the state. Just from a marketing perspective, we think 21 million is a good number to be looking at, and it's divided up over a period of time. We will ramp up to 2026 and then slowly but surely ramp down. So a lot of this goes to things like website management, brand development, ad development, PR support. And then, of course, you have the matching grants piece, which we had talked about, which ends up coming out to $3.5 million, which is pretty darn good to be helping individual businesses and tourism locations throughout the state. So
Anthony, if I could just interject, I believe the South Carolina commitment is 9 million for multiple years. I think it's a 5-year commitment.
Great. That's good to know. Thank you. Thank you. And so, Jason, actually, I'll kick it over to you for a moment. So this $21 million ask is just marketing. With other pieces that we've discussed, how much do you see this being in total?
I think we're a bit closer to 30 million. Cindy, can you roll out some of those details? I think we're looking at another $2 to $3 million a year for education, exhibits, programs, and so on.
Yep, exactly. So we're looking outside of marketing at about $13 million total. And that would be split over education, some curatorial work, some engagement initiatives, whatever our 2026 signature event is, and then also just general administration of the commission.
Mm-hmm. So the program overall, like this, with marketing and grants and focuses on arts and culture and tourism, comes into a little bit over $11 million a year, maybe 12. And what we think this can do is not just, again, make the state an attractive place, but we're creating some necessary infrastructure for what marketing the state and bringing tourists and putting an emphasis on arts and culture can do and make a greater impact throughout the state. So with that being said, I think it's worth opening this up to discussion. And so I think probably the easiest way to do that is to just go through page by page. Rob, does that make sense to you? Does that work?
Sure. Yeah.
So from an objective standpoint, does anybody have any disagreements with these objectives? Do you think there's anything we should be adding, subtracting? I like quiet. That's good.
Well, I think the big thing is how do you get everybody aligned in what our ultimate goal is to be unified as a state for statewide marketing purposes. I think that's the big thing is everybody's going to have their own ideas is how do we bring them all together? collectively?
Well, a couple thoughts on that, Chris, and it's a really good question. I think one, from an idea, like an overarching identity standpoint, that's where we can jump in and create that alignment. And what we can do in order to get people to align with that is, we incentivize that with the matching grants. So we can make it a term of what those matching grants are, is you have to utilize the marketing campaign and the branding that exists. And if you don't, you're not eligible for the matching grant.
Don't get the funds.
Yep. But then from you get down to more granular level and what people are offering. Of course, we're going to offer guidance on what those things should be, but ultimately, if Pomfret or Litchfield or Hartford, like at that municipal level, those things will come from them on how they market their individual assets. So, again, we don't want to be in the business too much of telling people what to do, but rather encouraging them. And look, if somebody doesn't want to get in line and they want to do their own thing, I have no doubt in my mind that will happen. But I think, they're going to be the odd man out.
Can you talk a little bit more about the bold fourth bullet there? Ensure we are competitive with neighboring states. I don't know if you've had a chance to flesh that out a little bit more, but could you tell me a little bit more about what you're thinking and how do we go about ensuring that we actually accomplish this?
So I think from a deeper level, we're going to have to do a good amount of research in understanding what neighboring states are doing. But the reality is none of our neighboring states have a new brand like what we have. With this new brand, again, that we're rolling out tomorrow, it's a more robust narrative and a bigger narrative that tells the world about how Connecticut is here and we're a powerful force for good because of the types of people we have here, creators, makers, innovators, and entrepreneurs. And that's goes all the way back to the founding of the state, and it will lead us into the future. So I think with something like that, it's an attractive way to be talking about ourselves and it stands out. And we intentionally made that brand to stand out from the Massachusetts and the New Yorks of the world. So if we're all using that story, using that narrative, we're going to stand out right away. We're going to be different. And in fact, even just looking at what tourism marketing has done over the last couple of years, none of these states have a campaign quite like Find Your Vibe. I'm not saying we use Find Your Vibe, but if we continue talking about ourselves in a vibrant, energetic way, we're not just attractive from a historical standpoint, we're going to be attractive to a younger generation of people who are going to want to come here, visit here, and learn about Connecticut, which plants the seeds for us for the future.
Just a comment there. We've had a number of conversations with legislators, including Senator Austin, and they're all on board and know that they have to do something. They are concerned about what other states are doing and have kind of expressed an interest that, they don't want Connecticut to get kind of lost in the shuffle here. So I think that there's a kind of a sense of urgency with them. Again, Senator Austin has kind of asked us to put together kind of a preliminary budget because everything obviously, has to go through appropriations. So I think that, they recognize the importance and significance. And I think that they, for the first time, this might be a fairly easy sell for us. Back to you, Anthony.
Thank you, Frank. And I want to actually add on to what Frank is saying. That type of unity and advocacy from our partners in the legislature, it's really important. I mean, I think this program, we have to make it in a way where people don't have a reason to want to not advocate for it or not be a part of it. And that goes back to the individual locations. I mean, it's better to be on board and be part of something bigger. So, I mean, there's a saying, if I'm saying it, I'll probably butcher this, but a single pilgrim is a zealot, but two pilgrims together is a pilgrimage. So it's better to bring people together and do this as one.
Anthony, I had a question, and maybe Jason can weigh in on this too. Has there been any coordination on planning for what various organizations or municipalities or whatever are planning for the next 4 years? Just so there's some coordination. Maybe that's on the higher committee level. I don't know.
We're just beginning to wrap our heads around some of that stuff, Mike, now that the commission is sort of up and running. We've developed a communications plan. So letters just went out to every municipality in the state to make them aware of what's going on. Cindy is the point person and sort of centralizing those initiatives. And we'll continue to build sort of a communications network with all the municipalities as they begin thinking about the different activities and planning. We have some actively involved in the commission right now that have been attending each meeting. Cindy, I don't know if you want to elaborate any more on that.
Yeah, I will say in addition to municipalities, which we're probably at about 25 or so that have sent over contacts that should be kept apprised of what the commission is doing. We're also looking at putting together a list of organizations that are going to be involved and have a list of individuals who are looking to be kept updated, and that's at about 220 at this point. So we anticipate that all of that will continue to grow over the next few months.
Is one question that popped into my head in terms of looking at this. I assume our focus is mostly on the attraction side, nonprofit or for-profit, but generally attractions. Is there going to be some cross work with DECD to make, I don't know what kind of businesses maybe pop up, but I know, again, thinking back to my Maryland experience is that there were certain for-profit, regular type of business folks, gift makers, people who maybe make, Connecticut-based knickknacks and whatchamadoos that were wanting to tie into the promotion of these big programs, bicentennial, semi-sesquicentennial, et cetera. So is there going to be some of this information kind of passed on to, if you will, the business side of things?
Are you talking about from a financial standpoint, or just giving them the opportunities to market themselves as well?
Yeah, exactly. Will they be able to utilize, general logos, or is it going to be limited in any way?
I don't think we should be limiting this. I think we should be opening it up to a larger group of people. But I admit I don't know what I don't know, and I haven't quite done something, across the public and private sector quite like that. So I'd be open to anybody else's feedback there. If there's a major hornet's nest that we could be stepping in and doing something like that. But again, I want more people involved as opposed to less.
I'll just say from my perspective, having, built with Frank and Brett Thompson, built the arts, culture, and tourism roadmap. One of the exciting things I think about our sectors finally talking across arts, culture, and tourism is that the chambers of commerce, I think, are going to be a key piece here, where we start to learn about one another and our needs. I don't think we've had that historic connection. The arts and humanities organizations can tell really great stories. But I think an important connector are the chambers and the businesses that are going to tie into that as well.
Yep. I mean, you could sit and think about this and how some of these just larger businesses have been an integral part of Connecticut's history and where we've been and where we're going. So I would love to see Electric Boat get involved in this. I would love to see Sikorsky get involved in this, and Stanley Black & Decker. I think it's extremely important. And not only that, it gives us a much bigger mouthpiece in doing so. So, but again, that's my thought. Greg, I see you raising your hand.
Anthony, this might be getting in the weeds a little bit, but as you were mentioning some of those other organizations, it occurred to me that we should give some thought to Connecticut Public in terms of their role as a media partner. And I'm old enough to remember the bicentennial minutes that CBS did in 1976. So anyway, just a suggestion that we might think about Connecticut Public in a similar way.
Yeah, go ahead, Greg.
No, I'm just backing up on again with the looking at the businesses and the large corporations, is that the tourism, state tourism has done a great job of collecting the data now to tell the story of how the last couple of years have really made an impact. And I think that would be part of the toolbox that we want to send out to these corporations, showing that how this has worked, not to show it can work, but show it actually has worked.
I would agree.
Yep. Rob, going back to that, I think it's also an interesting thought about having a broadcast partner who can be across radio and television and also creating content along the way, and giving rights to be able to do this. I mean, it's also, I mean, from a Connecticut public standpoint, it's also nice because of the access that they offer. You know, it's not just around dollars and cents and being able to afford it, that anybody can get their content. So it's an interesting thought. I think it's worth considering here for all of us as part of the package. For the sake of time, I want to make sure we're going through. Are we good with this objectives page? Should we move on to the next? All right, let's do it.
Go to the next page.
Yep. The strategies and tactics. I mean, I think if we looked at this page from an actual timeline perspective, I think the very first things that happen are the brand identity guidelines and kind of this toolkit that goes out, and the building onto the CT visit website. So that would go first, and then afterward we'd have to figure out how to distribute that. So we would then put it in an information distribution network to partners. And then once we hopefully get money from the legislature, start a marketing campaign to advertise Connecticut as a location. And then, of course, we'd probably sit around the same amount of time, do the matching grant program. Thoughts?
Yeah, one thing I think could be beneficial to this is a starting with a high level timeline, just because when you have so many different organizations, businesses, leaders in the community, they could, have different opinions or thoughts in their head on what timelines are. But I think it also can help them in guessing that, things are progressing, and they're not just sitting back and waiting. And it'll start very high level and get more granular as we get closer. But I think, having a timeline of kind of key points along the process will help at least everyone think that they're included and not, just sitting there waiting for something to be told to them, over a period of time.
I agree. I think it's a very, very good point. It's great for alignment, and then also making sure that everybody feels like they know what's going on along the way.
Any other comments? Suggestions?
Well, I guess I'm just curious about, this is all dependent on state funding. So are there strategies and tactics that address that specifically in terms of how the state legislature and other elected officials are going to be approached?
I might comment on that, Rob. Jason and I spent some time because there was some ARPA money that hasn't been spent yet or allocated, appropriated but not allocated. And Jason and I talked a little bit, and Jason suggested that we needed $1 million sooner rather than later to get this kind of up and running. We reached out to Senator Austin and explained what we were looking for. She was in agreement. I asked Anthony to kind of reach out to the governor's office, and the governor's office is kind of in agreement, and so wasn't the budget office. And so they've all kind of agreed that we're going to receive $1 million probably the first week in March. There doesn't seem to be any opposition from the governor's office, the budget office, or any of the legislators to kind of get this thing up and running. And Jason had kind of outlined a program of how that $1 million would be spent. And I don't know if you want to pull it up, Jason, if you have it close to you, or so that at least they can get an idea as to what the thought process was for initial. Again, this is just to get us up and running. This is nothing to do with what kind of Anthony was talking about a little earlier. Jason, you're on mute.
Give me just 1 second. I'll share that. I'm going to be taking away the screen share from you, Anthony.
Cindy has this right at hand.
Yeah. Sorry, of course, my computer's being slow.
So what we did do though, at the request after a conversation with Senator Austin, is put together a 5-year funding plan that's broken down across arts and cultural funding and then tourism marketing funding. So that's what you'll see here.
Oh, Jason, I was talking about that original $1 million request.
Yeah, you'll see the breakout. Sorry.
No,
Cindy,
it's fine. I'm switching to the other document,
okay.
but you can keep talking.
So a bit of that is going to be focused on developing educational programming, statewide exhibit content that's centralized and allocated to every one of the 169 towns in the state. So we have some at least consistent narrative that towns and cities can build from. We're also looking to make investments in public arts. So on sort of ongoing work with the DECD Office of the Arts. Yeah, here we go. So the goal is to have some of the seed money getting into cultural funding, beginning to plan for the 2026 event. We'll hope to detail that after our commission meeting on Wednesday, actually. And then you'll also see at the top the curatorial, educational, and engagement piece. The marketing breakout is just below. So this is where we've allocated funding to in this proposal.
This is an older version of the document, so the numbers are definitely higher now.
So the tourism subtotal, I thought the other slide showed that at 21.
That's what's outdated, Rob. We boosted those numbers. Yeah.
Okay. But the program admin, that stuff is 13 and change.
Yep.
Okay. That's helpful. Thanks.
Back to you, Anthony.
So the final page that we had after the tactics and strategies was the budget. And unless somebody's saying that we should be throwing another 20 million bucks at this, I'm not even going to open that up for discussion.
I think you should throw another 30 million at it.
I'm good with that.
I figured you would be. Felicia's smiling.
Yeah, that sounds great.
We got to crawl before we can run.
Yep.
Agreed. So I think beyond that, I mean, this is just an opportunity for just a quick opportunity. Yeah, quick chance to just see if there's any other questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, and then we can talk about next steps. All right.
I guess I'm curious about, and maybe this leads right into next steps, but what can we be doing individually in terms of conversations with elected officials? Are there people that we should be targeting in a particular sequence, or is it a more of a general updating or getting to know some people? We've got boards at each of these, cultural organizations that are represented here. I think that those individual board members could be also very helpful. So is that one of the next steps for us to talk about how to create more awareness among the legislature?
Yep. So that's a really good question, Rob. I think even before that, if we're all aligned with this, what is Jason, Rob, Franklin, what are the steps for us to adopt this internally, both in this subcommittee and then within the larger committee? And then we can make it ours and then go public with it and start asking legislators to advocate. So I'll toss that over to you guys.
Rob, when's the commission meet again?
Thursday?
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
I'm sorry, Wednesday. Yeah.
That's-
So I think it would be a recommendation from this committee to the larger commission. I think would be the right sequence.
Will they be looking for a presentation of this on Wednesday?
I'm not sure, but I don't know why there couldn't be one as part of the report from this committee.
Are you comfortable presenting this, Rob?
I had a conflict at 10 o'clock that day. That was one of the reasons with various schedules that I wanted to be able to have a co-chair of the committee. I think it could be done in Frank, if you're able to make it to that meeting, or Jason, the information could be presented. Anthony, I think any member of the committee could present the information to the full commission. So it doesn't necessarily have to be me, you, or other individuals. Jason, you're co-chair of the whole commission. So, I'll yield to your expertise here.
Yeah, I'm happy to stand in. And of course, any other commission members can weigh in and comment. But I think the presentation as you laid out, Anthony, is fantastic. I think it's aligned with where we need to be going. And I think it'll yield a robust discussion at the commission. So to the next steps, presentation, acceptance, and let's rock and roll. Yeah, it's exciting, and it's exciting for your involvement and investment. And to the other point about next steps, I would also strongly recommend anybody on this call or any boards who has a line into the governor's office to build that kind of support and awareness is going to be a key part of moving any of this funding forward.
Yeah, I would agree with Jason's comment. Other than hearing from Anthony, I think the governor's office really kind of needs to hear from us, and we need to kind of push it to make sure that this happens. We don't want to give the legislature an excuse not to support it.
Any other thoughts or comments? Questions?
Thanks for all your hard work.
Thank you all for listening to me. I know I can be long-winded at times.
You were succinct and to the point.
Tell my wife.
I will say, Anthony, a breath of fresh air. So thank you.
Well, I guess I would just like to add that I think this is a great opportunity to build on the great work that Jason and the Connecticut Humanities team has done with the Arts, Culture, and Tourism Roadmap. I know Frank and others were certainly involved with that, but the more these industries can be on the same Zoom call or be in the same room, I think the better for all of us. And so I just think that this is a natural progression of some of that work that was initiated. I just want to thank Jason for your leadership and helping to make that happen. And I know my colleagues from the various cultural organizations are represented are very interested in what we can be doing to provide content for these activities, but also delighted to see that there are opportunities for some help to fund and then to market those activities, which is always a challenge for all of us in the culture field. So just a big thank you to everybody. And I think that this is as Jason said, a great step forward. Okay, if there's no other business to be discussed, I think we're adjourned. There's no need for a formal motion for adjournment. Just thank everybody for their time this morning, and all the work that went into the presentation was really appreciated. Thanks very much, everybody.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, everyone.